I shouldn't have wrinkled that up. We'd like to welcome you all to this celebration of life for Chris. We're so grateful for the time that we had with him. We'll first hear from Tracy. She's going to read a letter, and after that, we'll play a song that she's asked us to play.
Ayo nabi natosi, ayas tabatabi, ayas pamuksa, nastanago, blue hummingbird woman. Astut not to eat the peaks, astut not so swasas, astut gayot smoky, astut pinatoy, astut old man George good striker, astut not the waki, astut many painted faces woman. Astut the patsot sequoia namanya. That was his prayer every day. We met July 27, 2023 in Thorhild County. I was in the kitchen. And as Chris would describe it, it was like the scene of a trashy romance novel. Our eyes met across the picnic area. He quickly made his way through the crowd, barely talking, taking his eyes off me. And mine his. He came to where I was standing and threw away his garbage and waited for me to speak, in which I said, "You need to eat more." He says, "Are you trying to fatten me up?" No, as you're probably wondering why I would say that, I just need you to understand. I wanted him to keep coming back again and again. From that day, we were locked at the hip. We didn't know he would later on be up at our camp, where we spent hours talking and watching a meteor shower. Once he was ready to go back to his tent, we hugged. It felt just like home. September 11th, 2023, Chris asked me to marry him with an onion ring. He tied a green onion and put it around my finger. And of course I said yes. September 23rd, he asked again. This time he hollowed out a slice of a carrot, 1 carrot ring. And again I said yes. December 1st, 2023, I asked Chris to move into my teepee, which made December 18th our moved in anniversary. He helped me on my journey, my healing journey. And there was this one night I was struggling, and we did a ceremony. He pulled out all his tools, his reinforcements, holy blankets, sage, eagle fan, pipe. We burnt so much sage that we set off the smoke detector in his apartment. We used to sing in the pool where he lived. That's where he taught me most of the Sundance songs. We would sing them when we thought we were alone, only to open our eyes and people watching, some with tears, with words of gratitude. Babe, you told me every single day how much you were in love with me and how much I changed your world. I changed your life and showed you love like you've never felt, so deep, raw, and honest. I made your gratitude list every day, even when you were struggling with my Creasley, and you made mine unconditionally. You taught me about deep spiritual connection that we honored every day, every morning, every day with our gratitude list and smudge. We always connected deeply. You gave my life purpose. You showed me real love. You modeled honesty and humility. You opened doors for me I would never have stepped into if it was up to me. You introduced me to some pretty amazing people that I will always hold deep dear in my heart. You encouraged me to honor my voice, my feelings, and myself, and to trust my heart. We belly laughed every day. Usually it was at my expense. We made routines and honored each other. We built and followed our dreams. We followed our hearts. We just loved each other so deeply. We didn't do any surface level stuff. I loved how you wrote about your elders, your teachers, and your gratitude book every day, and how you'd end phrases with "and so much more." At first I didn't understand why, until your final entry. As I was reading back, I seen that they were so full of wisdom, and every day a little different from the last time. You're the most loyal person I have ever met. I learned a lot from you about integrity. Your time here wasn't long. You gave so much, Chris. Teachings in and around sweat lodges that you ran, wisdoms to the ones that needed, even when they didn't know they needed it. And after 2.5 years, you openly admitting to loving the kittens and played and spoiled them and spoken away only pet owners and pet lovers do. And I'll miss our long walks where we often found medicine, marked trees to cut, and seen wildlife. And last but not least, you fell in love with country living and the winter. One day I'll marry you, we'll build a home, live a life we often talked about. We'll fight, we'll laugh, we'll fail, we'll rise, and through it all, we'll keep choosing each other. Those were our dreams. We chose for eternity. I love you. I think deep down we all want that one person who's both our best friend and the love we can't get enough of. Someone we could tease and laugh with and rant to and cuddle, dream with, and never get tired of kissing. The kind of love where you could talk for hours or say nothing and still feel connected. That's what I found in you, my favorite friend, my favorite love, all in one. Even though the smell of your dirty t-shirts may fade away, my love and memories won't. Oh. I found a poem that Chris wrote. It's called Taken for Granted. The sweet sound of a spring rain, the chance to release a lifetime of pain, the gentle heat of a smiling summer day, the ability to enter the human race and stay, These are things taken for granted. The soft caress of a lover's embrace, the innocence in a child's face, the reflection of pink off the clouds at sunset, the unconditional love of a family pet. These are things taken for granted. The chance to give love in a world gone cold, the gentle wisdom of those gotten old, the strength to earn a good day's pay, or how we heal our heart with the words we say. These are things taken for granted. Not all these things are well and good, but do we give love like we really should? Do I do my best to love my fellow man? Do I open my heart as much as I can? Those are things needing to be given for granted. Hi, hi.
Can we cue that song?
We met under buzzing lights in Calgary, two lost souls trying to breathe. Different years, same long night, both just hoping to believe. You carried more than most ever knew, still you showed up kind and true. You kept walking when the road was heavy, you kept seeing good when it was hard to find. You looked past the cracks in people, helped them see the light inside. My brother, my friend, I'm still here in the quiet and in between. You may be gone from this world tonight, but you're still walking with me. We share the weight of days and years, the calls, the laughter, the strain. You found your faith in serving others, not in answers, not in blame. You kept walking when the road was heavy, you kept seeing good when it was hard to find. You looked past the cracks in people, helped them see the light inside. My brother, my friend, I still hear you in the quiet and the in-between. You may be gone from this world tonight, but you're still walking with me. If love is what remains of us, you're still here now.
I'd like to begin by sharing some words of a poem I heard when we lost my dad, and it gave me a lot of peace and comfort. I couldn't find the poem, but I tried to make it sound like the one I thought of. It says, I think of life like standing on a shoreline, watching a ship set sail, and that's how I think of Chris now. We watched him as long as we could until he reached the horizon and slipped from our sight. And it feels like he's gone, but gone only from our view. Because on another distant horizon, as that sail appeared, someone shouts, "Here he comes." And they gather, smiling and excited, ready to welcome him home. Chris was welcomed into the world by his overjoyed parents, Brian and Suzanne, in CFB Cold Lake, Alberta, on Tuesday, April 1st, 1969. Forever fodder for April Fool's jokes in the family. At 7, I think Chris was the one that made the most April Fool's jokes. At 7, his family was transferred to Trenton, Ontario. After a year of on-base living, his family moved to Belleville, Ontario for the remainder of his elementary school years. His grade 6 teacher was dismayed to learn he was moving, as the school would have referred him for an assessment because they believed that he was gifted. A transfer back to Cold Lake, Alberta for grade 7 lasted only a year before his family left military life and they found their longtime home in Airdrie, Alberta. Chris had a wide array of friends in high school, many he continued to connect with, who have reached out with sadness for his loss. He is survived by his loving wife, Tracy, his sons, Michael, James, and Anthony, and their mother, Deborah, who's remained a close friend. Tracy's sons, Forrest, Avery, and Gray, his parents, Brian and Suzanne, sisters Angela and Mike, Becky and Robert, and brother Michael and Megan, nieces Annika, Tegan, Chloe, Tia, and his nephew Ian, an extended family in Ontario, BC, Nevada, and Finland. After leaving the family home in Airdrie, Chris lived and worked in Calgary for many years. He honed his skills in the restaurant industry, quickly moving from line cook to backhouse management. Chris was a fabulous cook and would demonstrate his professional skill for many gatherings, including cooking for 80 to 100, his gift of service for his younger sister's wedding. His expertise and passion for teaching were evident when he was chosen to open new chain restaurants and train staff across Alberta and BC. He gained many fond memories from that experience. And I need to insert a memory here because I forgot all about this, but I remember when he applied at Moxie's. We were in Joey's Only right after an NA meeting, and he said, "I applied at Moxie's." And I was like, "Well, have you ever worked in a restaurant?" And he goes, "No, but I told him I had line cook experience," and obviously he caught on quickly because they put him into management and training right away. In his late 20s, he moved to Edmonton, where he began to build skills in construction and trades. He had his own business building decks, fences, and garages. He mentored under his good friend Steele in real estate flipping. He spent years working with another friend doing siding. Meanwhile, he never hesitated to offer his help on any and all projects for friends and family. Chris met Deborah in 2002. Deborah brought her 2 wonderful sons, Michael and James, into the family fold, and Chris accepted them as his own. They welcomed their new son, Anthony, in 2004, and he always referred to them all as my boys. He married his soulmate, Tracy, on October 4th of this year, and they were so happy in their rural home. They spoke often of how they met, immediately recognizing their connection to each other. They both said they kept quiet about their romance initially because it happened so quickly, but they took steps to live together soon into their relationship. We are all so glad they did not waste time. They loved the wildlife, the dark skies, the quiet, and being surrounded by nature. Tracy introduced Chris to a multitude of new experiences. With Mons Lake nearby, they spent time fishing, ice fishing, and walking out on the frozen lake. They took long walks in the rural neighborhood. He could often be found grounding himself, walking on the earth in their nature oasis, connecting to life. Although the dark, cold days of winter had always been a challenge for Chris over the years, he told his mom recently he was embracing winter. For the first time, he was excited for the season and able to see and embrace its beauty. Chris would have been the last person to say that he was a cat person. I can verify that. But Tracy's fur babies purred their way into his heart. Philip was especially attached, and Chris didn't hesitate to pay the enormous vet bill for a necessary amputation. Their life on the acreage was filled with home repair projects. He recently exclaimed to Tracy that he couldn't die because his honeyed to-do list was never ending. Chris and Tracy found a rhythm in their lives together. They began their day with coffee, shared in silence, their gratitude journals. In warmer months, Chris would sit outside in the grass with a fur friend for his ritual. Last year, he played in the snow. This year, he hugged a tree out front every day when the snow came. He loved to dance, often to his latest techno rave obsession, and sometimes it was incorporated into a cardio routine. Not only did he touch base with his loved ones every day, he also connected with his various networks and pursued passions. Chris and I first met August 25th, 1988, at the Renfrew Detox Center in Calgary. That's what the line about the buzzing lights were. It was those fluorescent lights that never stopped buzzing in the detox center. I was 25, Chris was 17, and full of, let's call it, feisty energy. We couldn't have been more different, but we were friends from the start. We had a good 6 or 7 years after where we stayed connected as we went through the NA program and cleaned up and found our way back into life. But then I ended up moving to southern Alberta and eventually Edmonton, and we lost touch for a few years. The first time we ran into each other, I had decided to start flipping houses, and I bought a house in Hazeldean. And as I was sitting on the porch eating lunch one day, I noticed a chipmunk going up into the soffits and attic of a house 2 doors down. I thought, well, I better let him know. And I went down there and knocked on the door, and Angela opened it. And that's where she lived. And her mother-in-law ended up buying the house from me. But anyway, so we got connected, and over that next little while, we stayed connected for a bit, but we drifted apart again for another few years. And then God let us know that we were supposed to be part of each other's lives, because I came home from work one day and there was a fax on my fax machine from Purelator, but it was addressed to Chris Rosebrugh. And the cover letter had his number on there. It was not even close to my phone number. But that fax came to my house, so I got a hold of Angela and got his number. And I called him, and I didn't tell him who it was, but I told him, what had happened, and he had this package. But I said, what's really weird? And he was quiet, and then he goes, is this steel? And I said, yeah. And he goes, where do you live? And I said, Holyrood. And he goes, me too. And he starts explaining where he lived, and I said, do you live at 8204 93rd Avenue? And he's like, how do you know that? And I said, that's the house we moved out of. My wife's boss owned the house, and we were renting from him. And when we moved out, Deborah moved in, and then later Chris moved in. So I went right over, and we spent some time marveling at how amazing this coincidence was, and decided that we wouldn't let ourselves get separated again if God wanted us to be a part of our lives this much. And I'm so glad that he did. One thing we did have that I wanted to share is we had funny nicknames for each other. And after that first time we got back together, Chris had been working out quite a bit. He was pretty buff and had his long hair, and he was telling me that people said he looked like Triple H. Now, I still don't know who Triple H is, but for 8 years, that's who I phoned. I'd say, call Triple H. And this is when voice calling was new, so I was always hollering, call Triple H into my phone, and it was so embarrassing for Cindy. And it didn't improve when he then became Stinky Pete in my contacts for the next few years. I don't remember how that started, but that was one of our nicknames. And then it became Honey Badger. Then 2 years ago, all that changed as my dear friend met his soulmate in Tracy. Once he moved to Smoky Lake, everything changed. We spoke almost every day for I don't know how many years. And if we missed a day, we felt bad and apologized to the other one. And I'll always be grateful for that. We spent time on the phone for so long, sometimes we both forgot we were on the phone and someone would cough and it's like, oh yeah, we're still talking on the phone. We'd just forget. We were so comfortable with each other. But 2 years ago, like I said, that all changed, because once he moved to Smoky Lake, he was always either doing a three-way call or putting me on speaker because he wanted Tracy to be part of our conversation. And it was despite me letting him know that I wasn't real happy with the new dynamics of our relationship, he just kept doing it. And I'm so grateful because in no time, we all became best friends and we became a trio. And Chris started calling the three of us besties. And so we would all call each other bestie, and that was the new nickname until Tracy misspelled it in our group text, and she spelled it beastie. So since then, it's been written in stone, and that's what we call each other. We still do text back and forth. It's beastie all the time. And I'm so grateful for his persistence in bringing her into those conversations. Otherwise, I would hardly know Tracy, and I'm so grateful for her friendship and the connection we have. Chris did not choose an easy path, but he found his way through the 12-step program, celebrating 37 years clean and sober on August 22nd, 2025. He was always humble about this achievement, but also proud and very grateful. He was a mentor for so many and will be greatly missed in his rooms. Recently, he spent a lot of time with Fernie, learning more about plants, healing, and sharing. Thank you, Fernie, for your friendship and mentorship. Chris lived his life grounded in the Indigenous spiritual teachings of the Red Road. He was a sun dancer for 25 years and has been a keeper of a sweat lodge. The love of drumming the Blackfoot songs was a passion, and his voice will be missed. He was deeply spiritual and believed in the love and guidance from Creator. He believed in the power of love to find ourselves, forgiveness, redemption, joy, and peace. Love is what saved him, guided him, and nourished him, body and soul. He loved learning and sharing the lessons he learned, endlessly seeking to help others, especially in the last month or so. He was working daily on a book, a website, and a Facebook page to help men heal physically and mentally. Chris was a healer. He sought to make a life that was meaningful, and he used his experiences and wisdom to support and teach others. His beautiful heart guided him all his life. Chris leaves us now because his heart has done its work. Being who he is, he left a piece of his heart in the hearts of all of us who mourn. He loved his birth family and the family he created, his adopted Blackfoot family, his dear friends, and the extended relationships that he continued to create over the years with love and loyalty. Christopher, also known by his loving dad as Chumley, we will all miss your crooked smile, your unintended stunts that sometimes resulted in injury or needing to be rescued, such as from a bathtub as you jammed your toe up into the spout, or falling off the trampoline because you were trying to bounce someone off. Your unbridled enthusiasm for all sorts of fun and anything that created laughter. We will never play the vegetable game without memories of you. I don't know what that is, but I'd like to find out. Your love of music and your full body dancing, especially during big family meal preparations and cleanups. The sound of your laughter and the tears of your laughter rolling down your cheeks. Your silly assertions about the stinkhole and crib. Your constant teasing and great pleasure in laughing at all of us. And he was so good at that. He was so good at helping others see the humor in their situation. And sometimes I'd get mad at the start because he'd be laughing at me, but he always helped me work through that and to get to that point of laughter. And it's a gift that he had. Your commitment to family gatherings, your long embracing hugs, your tenderness and kindness when someone was in pain, your excitement for Christmas, gently prodding us to get the plan in place to gather, which we will honor. Most of all, we miss you being here with us, hugging us with your immense love. In closing my remarks, I'd like to share the chorus from the opening song. That song was, I wrote that the morning, I wrote the words the morning I heard that Chris had passed, and I'm not musical. I used AI to create the song, but I did come up with the words, and I just wanted to read the verse, or the chorus. It says, "You kept walking when the road was heavy. You kept seeing good when it was hard to find. You looked past the cracks in people and helped them see the light inside. My brother, my friend, I still hear you in the quiet, in the in-between. You may be gone from this world tonight, but you're still walking with me." So we'll now hear from Summer, and with some parting wisdom from Chris. So Summer, if you can come up.
I had the honor of sharing some of the last few hours of Chris's life with him. He was at home with Tracy and on our Zoom call, ready and alert for our conscious communication class. He showed up with enthusiasm and gratitude like he always did. Ready to dive in, and he spoke with the authority and the authentic, raw emotion he always had. That night, he affirmed others and told them how much he loved them. He often did that. And as you will see in the video from that evening, in those last hours, he imparted some wisdom. One thing he said was those that need to be forgiven have the most forgiving to do. I've known Chris for about 10 years, and oddly enough, before that, I knew his mother, Suzanne, and also his sister, Angela, years before that. And when I met him, I had no idea they were related. Many will say Chris was a good man. He was. He was a deeply felt, beautiful person. I'm finding it hard to read what I wrote because I got a few too many tears in my eyes. He was my soul brother, my friend, my student, and my teacher, and also my unwavering cheerleader. And there are others that would say the opposite of Chris. Those he hurt. Those who could not forgive him. And those whose pain was real and unresolved. Chris did something rare. He openly took accountability for actions most people would rather hide from or deny. Actions many would label as evil or abusive. He did not excuse them. He didn't spiritualize them away. He turned toward them. just before he passed, he began writing about his human journey. He called it the Unchained Way. He started drinking at a very young age and also became sober at a very young age, 19. He has dear friends he retained throughout that journey, namely Steele, who you just were introduced to. There were those that loved him not from denial, not from bypassing, but from a place of truth. From a place that could hold both his light and his darkness. From an understanding that even our shadows can become teachers. Rachel Naomi Remen writes, in essence, that our wounds are not evidence of failure, but places where compassion is born. Where service and humility take root. And Chris lived into that truth. He served in so many ways, in his presence and the way he showed up in every single place I knew him. At his sweats, at events like Remembering the Village, at the circles he led and facilitated, and his service at the Sundance for 25 years. And more importantly was how he showed up in his intimate relationships. Those who could not love him are often still holding tightly to the idea that good men and bad men exist as fixed categories, rather than seeing the human being underneath, shaped by ancestral runes, unmet needs, trauma, longing, and the fierce desire to belong. Chris was seeking spontaneous physical healing near the end of his life. His heart stopped literally several times and would start again. And also at times raced at 200 beats a minute. It seems he wasn't sure if he was staying or going. At times he felt like a fraud. But what I witnessed was something else entirely. I saw a spiritual man, a man who stood into the storm as a bison would, both emotionally and spiritually, with compassion and a deep personal inventory. I saw humility, I saw grief, and I saw courage. I also saw presence and an unwavering honesty. And I knew without question that he was a king at heart and in his heart. The one that stopped beating so I could hear his voice from the other side. Not a perfect man, not a sanitized man, but a man willing to face himself. May we honor him by remembering wholeness includes the part of ourselves we would rather exile. And as Chris said, it is through the mentoring and also the witnessing of each other without judgment that we heal. That is key. And now I would like to share Chris's last words and his wisdom with the video from Thursday, December 11th. I don't know who puts that up or plays it, but there it is.
Just naming the group's desire to drop in and really connect and share what's really going on for you in your life.
Well, I'm struggling. My heart's been stopped 3 times in the last couple of weeks now. And that's a startling experience. okay, Chris, you're going to feel like shit in 3, 2, 1, and then you're pausing in time. Nothing, 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 boom, and then it starts again, and it's like, whew, thank God it started. It was scary. It's like I've been working batch posting for my Unchained Way, right? It's like I gotta make some meaning of my life before I go, and I'm really afraid that I'm gonna go. So I've had some despair. So sad, kind of lonely. Really glad to see you guys. It's kind of hard to talk about this shit with most people, especially those that love you, because it's scary for them. It's scary for me. My boys, they're feeling pretty scared. And my sweetie, I hope for and pray for spontaneous healing. It doesn't seem to be my path in life. And then there's the shame. I haven't posted in since it happened the first time on the 15th because we might have talked about health and healing and blah, blah, blah. I haven't written in my chapter for the book or anything because it's like, who the fuck am I? I'm barely alive, right? But at the same time, I'm full of love. Like, fuck, I'm letting go of shit. Like, my dad, my mom, my sisters. Yeah. When we realize our need to be forgiven, we become more forgiving. That one visual that you had with the cages of bodies made out of metal, but the two little, that was like, oh, that's it, right? Like, and I was, again, so struck by your sharing that, just that brutal self-honesty of, hey, I'm not there. I'm over here. I've shut down. Like, it's like we can't get to there until we start here. I didn't get sick in a vacuum. I didn't get traumatized in a vacuum. And it's only other people that can help me, both by modeling and by witnessing. In the Native culture, witnessing is so important part of that culture, whether it's a birth or a death, a naming ceremony, a transfer of a sweat lodge or a pipe. It's always about community bearing witness. The entire community is changed by that. Just like us watching, Tracy watching Deb and Summer process that trigger, enable Tracy to hold space for me. So it's to learn by seeing, because then energetically it's a transfer. We're changed by the witnessing. In the true Native culture, there's lots of shamans and medicine men and medicine women that they're the gift God from God kind of thing, but there's lots that understand that healing is always two ways. As I observe somebody else being healed, I'm healed. Like Tracy and I had that experience like just before that week of where we were both in a trigger. She was at the 10 and I was starting to go with her, and then I stopped and I could just like kind of pull out and see, and then come back down into that holding space and making a conscious choice. I'm not giving up on my feelings. I'm not giving up on my needs. But right now, hers were more pressing. And so I was able to shift into that. And it's that place of non-judgment. That's critical. And I remember when we first started conscious communication a year ago, that I was always like calmly, rationally explaining to her why she was triggered. And that is not fucking helpful. That's the last thing that she needed. That was a profound moment.
Chris, was that you're motioning for Naomi to go next kind of thing? Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm just noticing when you meet people where they are, when I meet people as they are without judgment, the fear leaves my body. And I think I'm realizing sometimes I subtly judge something as, oh, this might be overwhelming for me, even with clients or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I can just like really just be with. I feel like just relief and peace.
Thanks, Naomi. That's pretty much what I felt. The relief. I could just observe Jill and just love her. Just observe and love, observe and love, observe and love. I didn't have to do. Even knowing all the stuff I know and the training and the practice and blah, 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 I still, in the head, got to settle myself down. Okay, I don't have to do. It's a man thing. Got to fix it. Got to blah. I just be. And then at the end, I was like, I'd just be able to share some heartfelt observations and It's just beautiful to watch, to Jill come up with the tsunami and start surfing and, okay, that's enough for now, I'm getting off. And that's okay, not being attached to the outcome, right? Like, it takes the pressure off, especially after, like I said, like whatever, I spent 25 years in 12 steps, right? I always had to have the answer. 25 years leading ceremony. I've always got to have the answer and be the leader, blah, blah, blah. Now I don't have to. Observationally, it gets me off the hook for a sense of responsibility that I've had my whole fucking life to take care of your feelings. You being everybody outside of me, right? The entire fucking world. It's more peaceful. It's and I could do it, like I said, I could do it in ceremony. When I'm running the ceremony, it's like, wow, that's where I'm really the Jedi. But to bring that into, like, it's transforming our relationship. Like, I've never been this so much in love in my entire life. The level of connection that we have now, so it's cool. It's really profound. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Say goodbye in any way you wish.
Love you all.
Nara.
Provided entertainment the whole show.
Be so bored without you, Chris.
That's right. Would it be the same at all?
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Chris did say goodbye, and with the peace sign to boot. And he is indeed at peace. And he also said he's only stronger, more effective, and free. I know that many of you have felt his spirit, heard his voice, or felt undeniable shifts within yourselves or those around you. The irony is now that he is unchained, and at this moment, and in this moment, through those he gathered to bear witness in his passing, that the meaning of his life is revealed. And with that in mind, he's asked me to speak for him to you all today. This is deeply uncomfortable for me. I've heard voices and seen visions from beyond the veil before that I have not admitted to. I'm afraid of being judged in good and bad ways. I'm afraid of being put on a pedestal, and also for others being jealous of a perceived gift, and I don't want to be judged, just accepted. Because I share the same desires Chris did, and that is that we step fully into who we are, without shame or comparisons, and that we witness one another in doing so. So we, too, become unchained. He prepared us. He knew. He said, I am nearly dead and full of love. You can't make that shit up, can you? My heart wanted to explode and expand, and I wanted to stay. For the first time in my life, I wanted to live. And you know what's fucking funny? None of you would be listening to me like this if I were still here. It's fucking funny. Now I have your undivided attention, and I can share my heart. I want to tell you that you are not your thoughts. You are not what you do. You are not what you've done. You are also not your body. You are soul incarnate, and shame will kill you. Let me tell you. Shame killed me. Shame prevents the life you are and the love you are from fully expressing itself. Not long ago, while I was listening, it came to me to call Summer the woman who walks with the stars. And now I've been in her head quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. Like you can't make this shit up, right? Some will say, woman who walks with the stars is a name, but it's really a calling. In Native culture, in Cree, it asks you what you want to be called, not what your name is. It's a key distinction. You have a calling. You all do. It's a very unique way of expressing your love. Tracy, my Mika Wacken, I know you're hurting and feel it's not fair. And God has plans for you. And you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And please, don't be strong for me. Not by holding it all in. Remember, blue hummingbird woman, that you are strongest when you're most vulnerable. And when you bear witness to your own feelings and needs. Feelings and needs. Feelings and needs. Tracy was my Nihuikamagan. It means the one I share sacred space with. And today, I am all sharing sacred space with all of you. Today, you are my and each of yours, Nihuikamagans, the ones you share sacred space with. And I would like to invite you all to hold hands, hopefully with someone you don't like and have resentment towards. So if you could all get up and go to that person right now. Just kidding. Of course, most of you won't be sitting beside someone you don't really like. And that's because those niggles, we call them niggles, the discomforts, the triggers, and the things we don't talk about in families, we avoid them. And I often did that. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty fucking pissed off sometimes. To some of my family. But I want you right now to outstretch your arms and hold hands with those that are beside you. Take a breath, and for a moment, feel into what you just took in with that video, and to what I've said, and become present to your own body. Close your eyes. My heart stopped beating. But each of you has a heart that is still beating, that aches, and that races when nervous, scared, or excited, that sometimes hurts, and that is capable of love. All of you. Please take a moment of gratitude for your heart in the middle of your chest. To thank this organ that remembers what it is to be whole and to be fully human. Fully human. Please notice your left hand, and if you aren't touching anyone, imagine it reaches across the aisle. Breathe into the warmth of the other person's hand. Take a moment to feel it. And for those of you that are thinking it's too uncomfortable because you're afraid of feeling, don't cheat yourself now. Breathe, my friends. Breathe and feel. And in your mind's eye, trace your left hand up to your elbow through your shoulder as it passes through your chest. Your hand to your chest. Your heart lies here, directly between the length of your arms. Breathe into your heart, into the middle of your chest. Allow emotions to arise. And keep going across your chest and into your right hand. Acknowledge that hand and that energy there. Breathe into those hands and those people beside you. And please imagine this room, all of our hands connected, because we are all connected. You have the opportunity today to bear witness to yourselves and each other in your truth in this moment, no matter what it is, because in the witnessing there is a transfer of truth and knowledge through feeling. And it is the witnessing of each other without judgment that's key. It's what heals. And for those of you squirming, thinking this is uncomfortable and you've got to go to the bathroom, keep breathing, allowing, trust it. Please breathe into your heart while you acknowledge the person in this room that you have a niggle or resentment towards. You're holding hands with them. Trust and keep breathing. Notice this, that you are all connected through the hearts and the hands of each other in this moment. Trust me and acknowledge these feelings. Breathe into them. The feelings, the body sensations. Not to the story of what you think about this person or what they did or didn't do. Just breathe into your body sensations. Be present to them. They might be negative feelings or physical pain, and that's okay. Keep breathing. Trust and bear witness to them. If a thought jumps in, keep breathing and feeling. You can ask these sensations and these feelings to become an image, a sound, a color. Just ask. Breathe and feel. Breathe and watch. Observe and love, observe and love, observe and love. See, sense, hear. Watch and allow. Shame killed me, and you know you're only as sick as your secrets. I hurt people, and I drummed, and I grieved, and I mourned, and more than anything I needed to be witnessed and seen. I needed to be reminded that I wasn't what I did. Take a moment, breathe into the room, and after we leave here today, after the service to eat and mingle, may you remember how to witness one another. Don't ask them the stupid shit, like what you up to, how you're doing, what do you do, it's all BS. Ask them, what's alive in you? What's alive in you? In other words, what's real for you in your inner world, your body temple, now, in this moment? Give someone the space to honor themselves. See what happens. Ask genuinely and only if you truly can and wish to hear the answer. And for those receiving the question of what's alive in you, practice something new without judgment. Give yourself permission to breathe and time to check in, to honestly answer, what's alive in you? What are you feeling? Not what your judgments or complaints or compliments are, but what you notice in your body. Bestow the gift of your truth on another. Not your story about it, but the feeling. Because in the witnessing, there's a transfer of truth and knowledge through feeling that awakens in them the resonance of truth in us all. As you witness, you need not answer them or soothe them. You don't have to do anything. Just breathe and observe, observe and love, observe and love, observe and love. Bearing witness does not need to end here and today. I hurt people and I drummed and I grieved and I mourned, and more than anything I needed to be witnessed, seen. I needed to be reminded that I wasn't what I did or what I was going to do in this life. I am here now with you all, and I'm bearing witness. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Summer. We're now going to have an open mic where people can come and share thoughts or memories they had of Chris. I'm going to start with 3 memories that were sent to me that I'm going to read for you. All right. First one is from Lucy, his mother-in-law. He was dancing while making pierogies, and he tried to outrun her and her flour-covered hands. In doing so, he broke wind from the effort, and they were laughing so hard, and then Chris softened the embarrassment by stating, "We're officially family now." He always knew how to make everyone feel loved and accepted. From Granty, Chris loved to cook breakfast when we were camping. We would pour real maple syrup on the pancakes and then lick our plates. Brian and I were usually the first to lick our plates. The friends of Mike and Angela, he was a lawyer, was shocked, but after a bit, they joined in too. And then from Angela, she said, Chris took great pleasure in embarrassing me if we crossed paths in the hallway in high school, often yelling from one end of the hallway so everyone would turn and look. I was quiet and shy, and while most of you know this, Chris was not. When people learned I was Chris's sister, they couldn't believe it. How could 2 siblings be so different? But despite our differences, we cared deeply for each other. even during our difficult puberty phase. I pulled muscle in phys ed class, and I pulled a muscle in phys ed class and was trying not to make it obvious how hurt I was. I couldn't hide my limp, and although he initially started to mock me, he saw the look of pain and near tears on my face and immediately came close to see if I was okay. The kind and caring big brother emerged instantly. And again, when I left to go to school on a field trip to Expo 86, unbeknownst to me, he solicited a classmate friend to be my personal bodyguard on the trip. My young teen girl heart was overjoyed to have the sudden attention of an older, popular guy who took his job very seriously, to the point of insisting on sitting beside me all the way to Vancouver, ousting my friend from her seat. Chris always had my back. There hasn't been a moment of doubt in my whole life that Chris wouldn't be there for me in a heartbeat if I ever needed him. I will carry this loss deep in my heart for the rest of my days. I thank you for sharing those memories with us. So we'll now, the time is now yours to come and share your thoughts and memories. And when I was talking to Tracy and Dev the other day, and when we were setting this up, they wanted me to use Chris's words to remind you that this is not an on and on meeting. He says, be specific and make your point. And those are Chris's words. But yes, please come up and share your thoughts, and feel free to take a few moments.
All right. I'm his, for those that don't know me, I'm his oldest son, Michael. My spirit name is Coming of Thunder, and First Eagle Dancer. Yeah, my dad, Chris, was the most loving person I met in my entire life. He was a beautiful person. I am forever thankful he was my dad. I was lucky to have a dad like him. He taught so many people so many things. He taught us all to laugh. He was always laughing and making others laugh too and lifting their spirits. He also knew when to be serious. He was a very spiritually powerful and wise person. He was gifted. One of those many gifts was singing. He taught me, as well as almost every singer in this room, how to sing. He taught me in ceremony and life to not be afraid to show your emotions, to be able to cry in front of people, to open yourself up to people. He did just that. He did just that throughout his life. I remember back in 2004, the day my little brother, Anthony, was born. He pulled my brother, James, and I aside after my mom just gave birth, and he cried happily and said, "Your mom is the strongest person I know." He loved all of us. He loved us all so incredibly much. I will miss his smile, his laugh, his hugs, his beautiful, powerful singing. I am proud to be his son. He met my brother James and I when we were 12 and 9 years old. He immediately took us as his own. A year later, our little brother Anthony, Standing Bear Man, was born. We were his boys. That's how he always referred to us, my boys. He always taught people to allow yourself to feel your feelings, as hard as it is sometimes, as easy it is to stuff it down. It's okay to cry. My life will never be the same. I loved him so much. One thing I know is he would want us all to be happy, to live our lives to the fullest. I'll do my best to do that. And he wouldn't have left us if he hadn't known that we'd be okay. All my relations.
Those of you who knew Chris well know how he loved to talk, right? Settle back, folks, because I taught him. This pain is unbearable. And yet somehow I am. I collect cards when I travel places or whatever. Just ones that really touch me. So, I don't know, 20-something years ago, first trip to Tofino, and I discovered the gallery of Roy Henry Vickers, a Native artist, world-renowned. It was the most incredible experience going into that gallery. And I would be there in just a minute, I can be there. So I buy a card, my travels, wherever, and have a box, and I keep them in a box. And at some point, there will be something that happens, and I will know who the card's for. So this is the card, and it just speaks to me of Chris. And what you can't see is the sort of holographic images of Native spiritual artifacts and things. So this is the letter I wrote to Christopher. My darling Christopher, Northern Pipe Man. Light of the Spirit by Kataro is playing as I write this, a piece of music that's very important to my children and me. It's Christmas Eve, and you were supposed to be here with me. This pain is so deep, it feels so unbearable, and yet somehow I am. What carries me is love. In so many ways. It is the only thing that helps. Knowing what we shared, knowing it does not end, while I ache to hold you, I know that you are holding me. Gratitude is also incredible. Helping, offering solace. You were so remarkable, so complex, so courageous. Choosing the path of love and offering it to so many. You taught me so much in so many ways. What love is. You are loved by so many, respected. Lives are changed. And I know there are people alive because of what you did. You are holding Tracy. Our boys. Deborah. And each other. You are a leader, a teacher, a friend, a brother. You are a Northern Pipe Man. But for me, you are my baby boy. Thank you for choosing me. Love you forever, like you for always. I will see you down the road. Mama. Just thank you for being with us and helping to carry him home.
Thank you for all of you who are here with us or watching. For my brother, Chris. Ever since my brother passed, my brain has been playing a constant memory reel, which I'm sure is shared by everyone here. Maybe that's because when you realize you will have no more shared memories, you go back to all the ones you already have. So in honor of my brother, I've tried to summarize a lifetime together in a way that is meaningful, to show all the parts of him, who he was to me, and maybe to many of you too. I have to start with humor in order to do this, and I did not know that Lucy would steal my thunder, or rather Chris's. All right, that's next one. Wait for it. As any younger, smaller sister who was regularly subjected to being overpowered and put in judo submission holds, I had to find devious ways to retaliate and look for chinks in my annoying older brother's armor. When I found a particular chant that would rile him up, it was endlessly satisfying, and I admit, I'm embarrassed to say this out loud. And just so you know, this makes no sense, which made it even more ridiculous. Crick up the wall, crick down the hall. Somehow, calling him Crick instead of Chris was an instant reaction. Tracy told me Chris was full of forgiveness in the days before he passed. I really hope this was in the mix. If not, get over it, Crick. Chris never grew up, here's the part, when it came to farts. That's right, I said farts. Maybe that's because it was forbidden in our childhood to call them farts. My mom thought that was a bad word, or in her words, crass and uncouth. Well, who's crass and uncouth now? We had to call them boomers. We spent our childhood calling them this ridiculous name that no one else outside our family knew. How can you possibly take farts or farting with any kind of maturity when you grew up hearing, Chris boomered on me? My mom tells the story of us hearing the Christmas song, Six White Boomers, for the first time, and the two of us breaking into hysterical laughter. Exhibit A, a direct quote from a text I received in recent years from my brother. OMG, exclamation mark. Beans are hitting. I can't stand myself. We all know what Chris's favorite food was. Ask Tracy how many blocks of cheese are in her fridge. Ask my parents how many cheese slice wrappers they found under Chris's mattress when he moved out. But maybe you don't know about his most hated foods. The rule in our house was you couldn't leave the table until your plate was clean. The dog couldn't help us this time because it was pea soup. Not easy to slip under the table like the lima beans. I think Chris won this round of the Battle of Wills. He threw up his pea soup back into the bowl. My dad sent him to his room in fed-up disgust. Apparently, Chris, it wasn't a form of torture. Mom and Dad still eat the wallpaper glue, and recently Mom told me it might be the only thing they feel like eating these days, and it is good because it is high in protein and nutrients. We had a huge Bouvier dog named Grizz, who we had to put down. Chris told us often that Grizz was sometimes his only solace. We're debating how to say that word. On his darkest nights. Grizz was his comfort, guardian, and companion. On this sad day, we gathered in our living room for a family service. Chris read his poem, An Ode to Grizz, which perfectly summarized with love and humor our life with our beloved Bouvier. I wish I had Chris's skills. I would write him an ode. From our earliest childhood days to the day he passed, Chris loved to play any and all indoor or outdoor games. We had every imaginable board game and spent endless hours learning and playing all variations of card games. Watching Chris try to hula hoop on the Wii Fit board was hysterical. His wholehearted participation in variations of Wii dance with all the kids in our basement is a favorite memory. Last Christmas, we introduced Chris and Tracy to Dutch Blitz, and they became as addicted to that as they were to Catan. It made us so happy that he found someone that could match his Catan obsession. God knows the rest of us couldn't. I have no idea how he and Tracy could play that many hours of two-person Catan, but they did. He was usually the first adult to engage in outdoor games, with kids playing wholeheartedly and maybe to his detriment in volleyball circles, poof poof machien, horsing around in backyard pools and lakes. All our kids will forever have those memories. Chris made any gathering fun and full of laughter. It is our mission to make sure to honor that in our celebrations. I've been thinking about Chris and all his love languages. I think there's no clear winner. Physical affection, I hope everyone in this room has experienced one of his wholehearted hugs. When Chris hugged, he did it with intention every time. Acts of service, endless, too many to count. In recent years, Mike and I renovated our main floor and temporarily moved to a rental house 2 doors down. On the day we had to move back into our home, Mike had the worst case of food poisoning and was literally incapacitated. I had asked Chris if he was available to help for any part of the day. Not only did he show up early, when he saw the situation, he stayed, working like a dog, running back and forth to the very end, even helping to reassemble furniture and organize our space. He made it fun, cracking jokes and sharing laughs. Words of affirmation. Chris was a champion of this category. Whether it was cards, texts, sticky notes, or videos, he regularly made it his mission to champion us all. In one text, almost a year ago today, "Hey, just want to say I love you. You are an amazing woman. And wow, have you ever gone through a lot in the last couple of years. Hope this year is the most peaceful, tranquil, calm, quiet acceptance of your power and focus on you. Time to take care of you." Quality time, I think that's been covered 1,000%. Chris made sure to be present for so many important moments in my life. He bore witness. He held both my daughters, Annika and Tegan, on the day they were born. He was there to celebrate at the finish line of my first marathon, crying with me when I burst into tears. Any time with Chris, though, was quality time. He brought his whole self every moment, and we felt it. Gifts. I believe the biggest gifts, from Chris are all the people he brought into our lives. Tracy, Deborah, Michael, James, Anthony, you are truly gifts. Thank you, Chris. And again, I didn't know this was part that I gave to Steele, but Chris, you always had my back. There wasn't a moment in my life that I doubted you would be there for me if I ever needed you. And I hope you knew the same was true for you, that I always had your back too. Your presence, or your absence, will be profound. Your presence was profound too. I will miss you so much. I'm so grateful to have you as my brother, my best friend, and my companion, my champion. Bye for now, Crick. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, I am Ian Doig. I am Chris's nephew, and he has been the best uncle I could ask for, the most supportive. He was there for me in my low points and my high points, and he always supported me. He was he was the best, and it just feels like I could look around the corner and he'd appear, because it just hasn't sunken in yet. There is no real words that I could say to emphasize how much I appreciate him. I'm gonna miss him, and he was always there for me.
Okay, I'm Chris's niece, Tia, and I just realized I could hear myself from here. Some of the memories I have with Chris are from when I was younger. When I remember one time I was at my grandparents' and I was eating chips, and my grandfather had told me that he was eating them. So I remember I ran upstairs and I screamed at him. And it was really funny, and he was just so kind about it. And my mom had told me that when I was younger, he found out I like Tic Tacs, and every single time he came over, he would always bring a pack for me, and I had no idea how we were getting them, because I think I stole like 4 of them, just scattered all over your house. And it took me a while to realize that he had actually passed away. I thought my mom was joking at first, cause like he's my uncle, and I didn't realize that he could actually go, and I remember thinking that, because it took multiple days, I remember thinking maybe he was just out with Tracy, or maybe visiting Auntie Angela, or just planning to come up to help my grandparents move out of their house that they've been planning for a while. And yeah, it was, I had to go to my friend's house right after I was told. And as soon as I walked through her doors, she just hugged me and just let me sob. So I'm very grateful for her. And thank you, Tracy, for making his last 2 years his best ones. Because I think we could all tell that he was really happy. Thank you so much. You're a true angel. The stairs. Oh, the stairs, okay.
How, Nancy. My name's Horsekeeper, given name Rodney. You know, I've known Chris, Northern Pipeman, 26 years. You know, and we have a lot of history. We lived together twice, his breakup, my breakup. We looked at each other and thought, geez, what are we supposed to learn from each other? You know, and there was times when he was going through his struggles, bipolar, and I seen him in his certain moods. For some of you that really know him really good, he would have chocolate, and he would have gummy bears, and he'd be very sad, and he'd eat gummy bears. When he was angry, he'd eat chocolate. And then I realized, spending time with him, how he went through meetings, went to see a therapist, went to sweat lodge ceremonies. He did everything he could to balance things out in life. I've seen him in that determination to try to find that groundedness. In years to come, I understood mental health, and every time I talked to him about, yeah, I'm doing this, and I'm working with trauma and mental health stuff, and he'd say, you know, you should give me credit because I helped you a lot. And the one thing I realized and watched him over the years was how we always found that ability to get grounded. chaos would happen for a while, then he'd finally find that place. A lot of stuff we went through, and the humor. I moved in one time and he took me upstairs to his landlady. I was on 124th, and the landlady took one look at me and seen this big old Indian. All of a sudden she starts giving me these 100 questions. You got a job? Yep. You sober? Yep. I start asking all these questions, and I could see Chris just fidgeting. He's getting frustrated and he's getting mad. Okay, sign here. Boy, I go downstairs and he's just pacing. I can't believe it, this racist Munio. Then I opened up the bathroom door and I said, look at yourself. He goes, what? I said, you're a Munio. And then I looked at him and I said, you turned right engine on me, didn't you? And that was something that I always knew. In his whole life, he probably was a man of the red man, and it showed in a lot of the disciplines he had. Something that I've always seen when he went down south over Leicester's, Lowhorns, Sundance. He was the first one of the men that was there. You know, I remember Paul had turned around, and I went down there to Sundance, and I said, Paul, I said, this man here showed up. Our own native people didn't show up, and you from this reserve should show up. Instead, you're out this way and that way, and this man here was disciplined. And that's something that he had gifted us. When we've seen a lot of our own native people struggling, he always showed up, and I'd always say, look at this man. He said, he's not even from our tribes, and he's the only one that's always here. He knew what discipline was, and that's the gift that he gave us, to understand that. He used to always try to coerce me in going to meetings, AA and NA, and the only way that he'd get me to go to meetings is, you know, Rod, somebody's getting a cake today. Okay, I'll go. If it wasn't for those cakes. And he invited me, and I said, I'll go with you, but I'm not going to say anything. And then he called me up. I'd like to get this person, Rod, to come up and speak. And I just looked at him. He was persistent, Rod. So I came up there and I told him, all right. I turned around and I said, yeah, my name's Rod. I'm an addict. I'm addicted to hokey pokey, and I turned myself around. Because that's what it's all about. He just looks at me, smirking, laughing. You know, and that's that part we learned how to shock value, surprise each other. That was the one thing that I liked. So I have so many stories of him coming out of a lodge. You men, you dancers, you stay in. He crawled right out, and I said, you get back in there. And he didn't care if it was ceremony or not, he was still Chris. Looks right up at me and says, you don't have to effing kill me. And then he learned, and which he taught a lot of people. Sometimes we have to suffer just a little to understand. We called each other a lot. We haven't had a conversation in a long time. I feel bad for that. It's been over a year. But I take a look at the gifts that he gave, trying to understand that unconditional love. I wrote it on here. Big love to you, little brother. Say hello to Roger when you're up there. Those two guys, when they got together, were silly. He knew how to be silly. He always tried to be cool, but he was silly. That time he had that orange sports car. Getting out there, and I pull up to the house, and he was doing his, trying to be a handyman. Some of you that know him. I just walked right up to that house, and I seen him trying to do the shrubs. And he turns around talking to me, and then out of nowhere, he just cuts the cord. Sparks everywhere. And then he's talking about sledgehammers. I go to his house, there's 3 of them broken. I'm like, how does people hire you? Because he was a good talker. He could sell anything. I'm sure they hired him, but never got him back. So I really love that about him. He talked about making millions with steel. And those are the things, he had that vision. He was waiting for that big moment for everything to click. And I really think, his last couple of years, it did click. He won that million. So he put a smile on his face. I remember when we met at the Sundance at the fire there, and I said, boy, I'm grateful. I said, I was watching this guy for a while, just dragging his heart, just all sad, heartbroken, and then now he's happy. He was waiting for that. And it is about that, stealing those moments of being happy. And that's what I look at, is understanding that. He left that message to us, is trying to love self. My younger brother had passed away. September was 2 years ago, heart as well. But he had that look, unconditional love. And ironically enough, that's the thing he had, was unconditional love. The good ones pass away, but they get gifted first. So I am grateful that the gift you're going to be leaving us. It was so good to have that journey 26 years ago, him and Brandon, going to meetings, coming to lodge. I don't know how many times, rock trips, wood trips, driving down to Morris's, Richard. We had about 3 or 4 guys in the back of my truck in a cab, go to Morris's, go to Sweat, come back, and they try to take turns sleeping. And they talked about that. You can't ride with horsekeeper because every time someone tries to nod off, hey, Richard, what are you doing? Trying to sleep. Hey, Chris, what are you doing? Trying to sleep. So they knew they had to stock up for coffee because of our trips on the way back, talking about how Morris used to take care and knew how to speak to our pains and our hurts. And that's what we had gotten gifted with the old timers and those old teachers. Forever grateful. This man, all he wanted to do was sing. He's right. He taught quite a few of the people in here to sing. But the one gift that he left us is not to give up and be determined. Forever grateful. Hi, hi.
Okay, nito ko stand ko kinaksapo. Napakanikon. My fondest memories with this man is pretty well living on the streets in Edmonton. I was living out of Stan Daniels down south. I was in prison, but I got my day parole, my full parole, and I worked my way out. I first met him at Sweat out in Enoch, and there was just something about him. I had a lot to learn. Where I come from, what I was taught, is that there's no muniao in our ceremonies. That's what I thought my first time seeing him. So next thing we went into sweat. And this guy right here, he taught me a lot. It changed how I seen people. It changed me. I lost contact with him, or I just took him for granted, and I regret that. Seeing him on Facebook and stuff like that, and sending a mild hello. My last message to him was probably about a year ago, 6 months. I did that to my dad too. I did that to so many people. When I learned that he passed, it really hit home. 'Cause I lost my dad 3 years ago on December 24th. And right away, he sent me texts. When I seen him at Sweat, it was just that power we had. He said, always show your compassion for people. I told him, yeah. I took a life in 98, and I had so much grief. I had so much self-hate for myself. It was really years after my parole was done. He helped me. Last night, I had a dream. I've been seeing him, little glimpses in my house, in my vehicle, since he left. And I remember when I was done my dance down at Pablo's, I went and said, hey, I finished my dance. He says, well, you're not done yet. But there was these gifts. Well, I thought they were annoyances. They were really annoying. You'd see somebody after they passed, or have these dreams after they come. And I was telling him about it. Me, I have bad heart too. I was telling him about it, and he says, that's not a curse. You're gifted. You can feel people, Joe. You can stand in a room full of people and make them laugh. Just your humor, the way you talk, the way you walk. You gravitate. And I didn't see these kind of things. Let me see them. I'll always take that with me, what he said. Last night, back to my dream, sorry, I'm a squirrel. Anyways, back to that dream. I was dancing at a Sundance. And the reason I stepped back is because of my heart. And I was dancing. Those in ceremony know what I mean. And I was getting tired. I don't know where the hell he came from. But he was on this side. You got one more in you, Joe. And I looked at him, I was just tired. Look who's looking at you. Here, my late dad was on the other side of the lodge. Gee, brother, I'm right tired. Come on, he got him out the way he would dance. I watched him. Down at Morris's, down at Lester's. And he was just dancing. It's like how he was standing right next to me. And I went to go touch him. And he moved away. He says, you know the rules. You got one more in you. I told him, yeah. So, because even my aunties, my late aunties, all these people that passed on, they were all on the outside of the lodge. They were watching. My wife woke me up. I was making noise in my sleep. I guess I was. He's the one in my dream that pierced me. Again. But that was the power that he had to see him in a simple glance, maybe in the backseat of my vehicle. We went down to Lacombe yesterday for dinner, and I seen him. I seen him and my dad in the back of my Jeep, just for a minute, just for a glimpse. And I knew. I wanted to get mad. Just, why you keep visiting? But then I remember what his kind words were. It's not an annoyance, Joe. That's a gift. I just want to let everybody know here in the family, from my family, the No Chiefs, and ceremony family down south that I ran into lately. They send their love. I don't know many of you people here. Some of you know, some of you I don't. But one thing he always taught me is always to have that compassion for human beings. I was having a really hard time. This time of season's really hard because of the loss of my dad. Now I lost my brother. But I didn't really lose him. I keep telling myself that. Because every time there's a pang of loneliness or a memory, and I seen this on Facebook, and they said, this guy is telling somebody wherever he is up with Creator and all his buddies, he's telling a story about me. And it made things lighter. Also for my dad too, when I get really lonely for my dad this time of season. And I just wanted to pass that on. My family said, share that, make things easier, because that's what you do. That's what us do, us sun dancers do. He made me, he told me one time, quit being so damn humble. And I looked at him, I was like, because I don't like the term leader. I don't like being called that. He says, you did your time. Yeah, I thought he was talking about my prison time. Yeah, I did my time. No, you nut. Your ceremony time. We bounced songs off each other back and left and right. And it was a competition who could call up the most songs. Sometimes I'd win, sometimes he'd win. The songs that we sing, the power of the drum, it's him. All the ones that we lost this season, even this past years that we lost, are here. I wish we could just smudge too. But I wanted to pass on that message of love. And I always do this on my bus ride, and I shared this time. I'm a bus driver. I have about 40 students on my bus. I picked them up on a reserve by Alexander. Who heard I love you this morning? Who heard I love you this morning? Well, Mr. Joe, me being the bus driver, talking in third person, I have my mic. I love you. I would stand at the door. Whatever negativity might come, I ask for it. And I used to tell him that. He says, that's why you had your heart attack, Joe, because your heart's big. He helped me get healthy past my heart attack. His talks, his encouragement, he can get back up. You got one more in you. I didn't know what he's talking about, but last night I know. He also told me there's going to be challenges that's going to come, because you have a few people always bounce around to different sun dances and sing and help run lodge, help fill pipe. You're very, very adaptable, and keep it that way. I was like, well, I just like to sing. I just like to sing. Maybe round dance or these ceremonies that we have, sun dance. Because he taught me, and we bounced each other, these teachings off each other, these songs. And the way he was singing with ceremony with his drum, there's different levels. And I hold those teachings deep to me. Maybe sometime with these singers, I'll share them. We all know protocol, stuff like that. And once again, I send my love and my prayers to the family, his nieces, the ones that came up to talk. You have a new family member, because I love you guys. And as said with ceremony, one of the things I always said is I always stand in front, because we do. We do. In front of the families, in front of the ones we love. We'd have no harm come to them. And I leave with that message for you guys, for everybody here, as friends and family and stuff like that. I can be really long-winded. Oh, we used to sit up really long nights and talk. But I love you guys. From my heart to everybody here. Okinetsukoi. Daniko kinaksapo, apikani no kanatimoitska. Kimadokinan. Hey.
I am known as
My spirit name is Walking Bear Woman. My given name is Benita. And I've called Chris Papa from day one. Because he had adopted my husband as his ceremonial son. And so right away I was like, Papa, Papa. He had to be part of my family at that moment. My favorite memory will always be, and my favorite sweat will always be New Year's last year. I was just at the beginning of my commitment, and it was going to be minus 48 on New Year's Eve, and because it was December, I missed a lot of sweats, and they weren't going to have one. And I begged for a sweat lodge that night. I said, I'll do everything. I'll do the rocks, I'll do the fire, I'll do this, I'll do that. I'll empty the lodge after it's done. I said, I just need a sweat. And as soon as, I was put on our chat, everybody's like, it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be cold. And because I needed it, my sisters had stepped in and said, we will help you. And that's when Northern Pipeman had said, okay, we'll hold the sweat, but you have to do everything. It was cold, but it was one of the best sweats I've ever had in my life, and it's because he stepped up to take the role in leading that sweat lodge that night. When I found out that he had passed, the morning of the 12th, my husband wasn't working that day, and he doesn't answer the phone right away. And he realized, after I had told him, I looked at my phone, and it was in our group chat, and I dropped to my knees in my living room. And he was like, what's going on? And I told him, and right away he said, that's exactly why Michael called me at 2 in the morning. I know he wouldn't want this of me, but I'm so angry at myself for the time that I've lost. I'm sorry, Tracy. I love you. I love you, Papa.
For those of you that don't know me, my name's Jared. Chris and I were spiritual brothers, business partners, and he's my best friend. It's funny seeing the name up there, Rosebrugh, in the back. In the last, when Chris and I first met, we hit it off like no other relationship I've ever had, and I didn't know how to spell his last name, so I put Chris Rosebrugh. And he was, he's my brother, still is and always will be. Chris, Northern Pipeman. Chris, my bro, Rosebrugh, our Northern Pipeman. I speak these words not in the end of you, but to walk with you home and into eternity. You were never just a man moving through this world. You were my brother, my spiritual teacher, and a carrier of something much, much deeper. You carried wisdom, you carried prayer, and you carried responsibility. You also carried something very sacred, the Creator's blessings of holding space for myself and many before me. When we were heavy with grief, confusion, or silence, and for that I will forever be grateful. You didn't seek attention, you didn't raise your voice to be heard. You always showed up steady, grounded, and real. And that was more than enough. We were continually blessed through your presence, your prayers, and your love for us all. As my brother, you stood beside me in ways that don't need explaining. Our union forged in ordainment, loyalty, presence, and truth. You understood when words weren't necessary and softly served when they were needed. Holding a spiritual communication as highest regard, knowing that it was always sacred. You were Northern Pipe Man. You walked with a servant leadership and humility as your guiding post. You knew your pipe was never about power, it was about a sacred service. It was always listening, and you were always loyal. Through your pipe, you carried prayers that weren't your own, assignments that would seem unimaginable to the common man. And you never backed away from any of your blessings. The circles you stood in hold your imprint with smiles, the laughter, and the memories. The prayers you carried have landed. The lessons you lived will continue through those you touched. You reminded people, just by being, that ceremony is not performance. It is intention, it is respect, and it is love for something greater than self. And it is how we remember who we are through you now and forever. Brother, your work here is complete, not forgotten, honored in completion. Walk now without burden, walk without weight. Walk well, knowing that you did what you came here to do. I honor you with love. I carry you forward as we release you with gratitude, not in sorrow, but in strength and spirit. You are remembered, you are honored, you are home, soaring amongst the spirit of the eagles. Travel well, my brother, my bro, Chris Rosebrugh, our Northern Pipe Man. I love you, Chris.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Anthony. I am Chris's youngest child. I had something written out, threw that away, wrote something up again. It's just hard trying to condense 21 years of a great relationship in a short amount of time. About 2-3 months ago, my dad and I had a very painful conversation. He was honest about his mortality with me and where he was standing with it, how he felt with it. So I felt like he was almost saying goodbye. A couple days ago, I lashed out at my brother Michael because he asked me if I have any regrets with my dad. But with that conversation, at least I got to say everything I wanted to say to him before he went. I loved him for who he was, forgave him for who he wasn't. I just loved how gentle, caring, and kind he was. I loved he would make a joke that was so bad, but he would find it so funny. And clearly that's genetic, especially with those who work with me. You know, when I was younger, him and I had a talk where I was like, I don't want to end up like you. I don't want to do the same things you did in your life. But in the last 3 years, I've noticed I've taken a similar arc as him. I've helped open up a business, a manager. When I told him I started working in the service industry, he said he'd slap me silly if I told him if I was a cook. But when we opened up that place, I really, really wanted to show him. I just wanted to make him proud. Even though he always told me he was. He's the greatest man I knew. And I just have this big hole in my chest. I was sitting on the couch and I got the phone call that he had passed. And it felt like he was just gone. But what gives me some sort of semblance of comfort is that I see him in every sunset, every star. I see him in my dreams. I see him in the mirror. If I was just half the man he was, I knew I'd be okay. He had such a big impact on his community. He had friends and family here today, but he'd consider you all his family. His love for people was unending. His compassion had known no limits. I know that a piece of his heart is in every single one of you. I love you so much. I used to tease him for being 56, 55. He turned 50, I said, you're half of 100 already. He punched me square in the arm on that one. But looking back on it, looking now, he's never seemed so young before. The one thing that really breaks my heart, besides the obvious, is when he had a heart attack in August of 2024. I got on the call from Tracy, I believe. But when I visited in the hospital, he was like, I'm not done yet. I still have to bounce your grandkids on my lap. There's no amount of words that can cover how much I loved him. Always will. He had a piece of paper that had my handprints in the shape of a heart. And I told him I love you to infinity and beyond, the greatest dad in the whole wide universe. And I think about that every single day. But I know he'd want us to celebrate his life. Sit with this feeling. Embrace it. Let it pass through, regardless of how long that's going to take. He was my role model, my teacher, my dad. It's insane how much slices of cheese you could eat in a week, though. I remember the last time I was crying with Tracy, we were watching this movie with Michael Keaton. He's recording a video for his kids or whatever. And we're crying and crying. The movie ends, and he's like, "Do you want a slice of cheese?" And I was like, "I'd love some." It's so comforting. And he loved cheddar cheese so much. And I remember telling him that I'm not sure if it's true or not, but cheddar cheese is just regular cheese but dyed orange. He called me a liar. He said that's untrue. My belief system shattered. He's like, "I know it's the same, it just tastes different." So I'd like to think we could all have a slice of cheese in his honor. Rest easy, my captain.
Well, thank you all so much for those who have shared their thoughts and memories with us and some of the laughter that they've shared with Chris. We'll now have the honor song. Oh, no, the two videos. Yeah, we have two videos to cue, so if we could cue those up. And we'll hear from Chris directly.
You got me? Oh, look how easy that makes spreading out the hamburger. You can't do anything else with it. You can spread out the hamburger easier. Look at this. See, look at that. Now, if I used a spatula, I'd still be doing that, like for another 2 or 3 seconds at least. Look at me, I'm so filled with joy using this hamburger spreader outer tool that I mocked my wife for. Hello there. I am really happy to be here. I'm so glad to see you guys. You got me?
And on that note, okay, we'll now have the honor songs. So for any of those who are singing or drumming or rattling, please come up. And there will be 4 honor songs. All right, so to conclude the program today, we'll have Mike drum and sing, and singers and drummers can come up to the middle aisle here if everyone could stand. And we'll sing Chris out of the ceremony.